I hope none of you are getting tired of superheroes because you're going to be getting a lot more of them, especially from Amazon. So, the big story here in Variety today is that The Boys, Amazon's premier superhero TV show, is getting a spin-off. And it's currently in development because season 2 is killing it in the ratings, apparently. So, as we all know, The Boys is an adaptation of a comic book series from legendary comic book writer Garth Ennis. And if you've ever read Garth Ennis's work in the past, you'll know that it's funny, it's screwed up, it's the most off-the-wall stuff, but somehow it's also dramatic and heartfelt at the same time. I was introduced to Garth Ennis's work during his run on The Punisher, which was kind of a character redefining run, much the same way that Frank Miller's run on Batman completely changed the character, as well as Frank Miller's run on Daredevil. Garth Ennis basically changed the Punisher into a really interesting character who got into all types of like weird, effed up situations. And he created a lot of really interesting characters during that run. And then he went off to create the Preacher, which is one of the seminal independent comics of our time, and got adapted into a TV show, which wasn't all that great. But now another one of his comic book series called The Boys has been adapted into a Amazon original show, and the first season was really, really good. And the second season has been excellent so far, and it's been killing it. It's been getting like so much attention. It's absolutely crazy, and Amazon's looking to cash in on this series by making a spin-off. I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know about the spin-off in just a second, but first I want to encourage you all to go to saltynerdpodcast.com and subscribe to our podcast. It'll take you 2 seconds to do. If you're on an Android phone, it's going to go right to Apple Podcast. If you're on an Apple or an iPhone, it's going to go right to the Apple Podcast. If you're on an Android phone, it's going to take you to either Spotify or Google Podcasts. And basically, just hit that subscribe button. It's free. It takes you 2 seconds to do. And it's a great way to support the Salty Nerd crew and our content. So if you like what I'm doing here, if you like our shows on our YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to our podcast. Even if you don't listen to podcasts, just subscribing shows us a lot of support, and it's going to help with our numbers, and we really, really appreciate it. All right, so now getting back to The Boys spinoff over here. This is coming from Variety, and it says, The Boys could soon be getting a spinoff. Variety has learned that Amazon is fast-tracking development on a new iteration of the popular comic book series adaptation. And what fast-tracking means is Amazon wants it now. They want it right now. They don't want it in 2 years. They don't want it in 3 years. They want it right now. So basically, we could be getting this series conceivably in the years in between The Boys next season. So after this season is concluded, chances are we will get to see the spinoff, and then we'll get to see season 3 of The Boys, and the two might even tie together somehow. The news comes just under 3 weeks after the premiere of season 2 of the series, which is based on the New York Times bestselling comic of the same name by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson. The second season is airing weekly, while the first season dropped all at once, with the finale set to air on October 9th. According to Amazon, the second season had the most watched global launch of an Amazon original series ever, with the episodes to date having grown the audience from season 1 by 89%. That's huge. That's almost double the original audience of the first season. That is crazy. The fact that season 1 was so good and got such a worldwide audience from just having watched it on Amazon's platform really explains why the second season has blown up. And even though I like the binge model where I could sit down and watch all the shows like back to back and get it done and move on with my life, the fact that Amazon has changed their release schedule from being bingeable to going week to week, I think has actually helped the show because it creates this buzz. It creates time for people to kind of talk about it and theorize about it and become a water cooler show, which is something that Amazon hasn't really ever had. HBO really kind of pioneered this technique, and I think Amazon experimenting with The Boys season 2, knowing how good it was going to be, and dropping the first 3 episodes and then going week to week was kind of a stroke of genius, in my opinion. Even though I prefer to sit down and watch the entire series in one go, I understand why they did it this way, and I think it's paying off for them big time, especially with an 89% increase in audiences. It was renewed for a third season ahead of the season 2 premiere, while also adding an after show hosted by Aisha Taylor, which is pretty garbage. I mean, I've tried watching the after show, and it's an after show. It's not very good, and especially because like it's like watching a Zoom call with Aisha Taylor and the cast of the show. So it's just filler. It's really not even worth checking out. I really wish after shows like did something that was worth watching as opposed to, I think the shows on YouTube where you go and you listen to people talk about The Boys are way more interesting than the official after show. So, by the way, check out the Salty Nerds breakdown of all The Boys episodes. We do it week to week. We have a lot of fun doing those. We put them up on the YouTube channel and our podcasting RSS feed, so you can get it either way. And be sure to check it out because we have a lot of fun talking about it. But the fact that Amazon knew that they had a hit on their hands, considering that it was renewed for a third season before season 2 even premiered, tells you a lot about how they view this franchise. The spin-off is set up at America's only college exclusively for young adult superheroes, or SUPES, that is run by Vought International. And Vought International is, of course, the multi-billion-dollar conglomerate that created superheroes in the Boys universe. It is described as an irreverent R-rated series that explores the lives of hormonal competitive SUPES as they put their physical, sexual, and moral boundaries to the test, competing for the best contracts in the best cities. Part college show, part Hunger Games, with all the heart, satire, and raunch of The Boys. Now, one of the interesting things about this concept, I've heard a lot of people call it The Boys 90210, and how they're like CW-fying The Boys. Let me tell you something. If you're a fan of the comics, you'll know that this is actually based off of a kind of a run in the comics where Huey goes undercover with this group of superheroes who are basically frat boys, and they drink beer, they party, and they have sex and all this stuff. And it's basically a weird superhero version of Animal House that played out in the comics. And so I think in the vein of the loose adaptation that they're doing for The Boys, they kind of took that concept from the comic books of like the superhero Animal House and are using that as the basis with which to do this spinoff. Now, so far, the writing for The Boys has been absolutely phenomenal, like way better than I ever expected it to be. Like they really understand how to capture the essence of Garth Ennis's kind of like messed up, off the wall like craziness, but temper it down so that it's relatable and it's realistic and it's something that is truly messed up, but at the same time fascinating to watch. And so I think and I hope that the spinoff to The Boys is going to be much like that, because you're going to have a situation where you have college-aged superheroes competing with one another for contracts. So it's almost like a competitive sport type thing. But with all like the college debauchery of those classic, 80s college movies that we all grew up watching, or at least, my generation did. Craig Rosenberg is writing the pilot and will serve as showrunner and executive producer under his overall deal with Sony Pictures Television, with Rosenberg currently serving as writer and executive producer on the original series. The Boys creator Eric Kripke will also executive produce, along with The Boys executive producers Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and James Weaver of Point Grey Pictures. So we're getting all the initial producers working on this show, which means that we're going to see some congruity, hopefully, between the spinoff and the actual Boys TV series. Original Films' Neil H. Morris and Pavan Shetty, who also executive produced The Boys, are also executive producers on the spinoff, along with Garth Ennis, Robertson, Ken Levin, and Jason Netter. Amazon Studios and Sony Pictures Television will produce. So, I mean, this is a true spinoff. This is basically the original creative team behind the first series, The Boys, going off and creating a whole new show within the Boys universe. It's very similar to how Star Trek operated, where you had like the producers of Star Trek: The Next Generation, who would then go off and hand over the duties of the day-to-day of the original show, and then go off and create spin-offs like Deep Space Nine and Voyager and stuff like that. And so I don't know, because the seasons are so short, they're only like 8 episodes long, the original creative teams here can actually continue to work on the original show and the spin-off simultaneously, which is really, really interesting, because basically we're going to get the same level of quality that we've come to expect from The Boys with the spinoff and vice versa. So hopefully the quality remains high and the concept, is new and fresh and something different. So, a lot of people are kind of skeptical about setting it in a college, but at the same time, if you've read the comic books, if you know that storyline, I believe it begins with "We Gotta Go Now," which was the title of like episode 4 or 5, I think, possibly episode 5 of season 2. That's the storyline where basically Huey infiltrates this frat boy group of superheroes and basically goes on a college debauchery storyline, which is kind of funny and screwed up. So if they stick with the loose adaptation technique of the comic books that they have been so far, I actually think that this spinoff could be really, really good and really, really interesting. And it's going to be cool to see how it ties into the main boy storyline. So we could have a true VOT cinematic universe going on here, where we get maybe 2 or 3 spinoffs, much like The Walking Dead is doing, all set in the boys universe and all kind of interrelating with one another. We'll see Carl Urban show up in an episode of one of the spinoffs or something like that. It could be kind of cool, and it could be also a great chance for them to lampoon that stuff, because they already kind of did that with the whole Dawn of the Seven thing, where they were lampooning the DC expanded universe with that type of thing. So let me know what you guys think about this. Do you think this spinoff sounds like something worth watching? Do you think it's a good idea to spin it off in the first place? Are you fans of the original comic versus the TV show? Which do you like better? Let me know in the comments. And as always, go and check out saltynerdpodcast.com. It'll take you 2 seconds to do. It's free to sign up, free to subscribe to our podcast. Even if you don't listen to the podcast, please consider giving us a follow on the podcasting platforms, because that helps us out a lot. But also, if you have long commutes where you're driving a lot, or you're on the bus or something like that, or just long portions where you're looking for stuff to listen to, we're a comedy podcast where we talk about movies, TV shows, all types of fun stuff, and we do it in a fun and engaging way. So please be sure to check us out. We're a good way to pass the time, all over at saltynerdpodcast.com. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. I appreciate the time that you guys are taking to check out our content. And as always, this is Matthew Kadish signing off. I'll catch you in the next video.